land. It was their home. It still is. The only way we could establish a Jewish country was by oppressing the Palestinians, dispossessing them, expelling them. And that's wrong. So I would say the last 10 years, I've been really questioning. The last 5 years, I'm very clear with myself that my obligation, my moral and religious obligation as a Jew is to not only try to support Palestinians, but also to oppose Zionism. So that's something about myself. Um, yeah, maybe you can give me a little guidance. You know, you asked me to talk about kind of my religious orientation, so your
Yes,
students
yes,
have some understanding.
yes, that's true, Rabbi. Please, please.
Yeah, so you probably know there's different kinds of Judaism. There's different interpretations or different um, branches of Judaism. I can say just like Islam has many different interpretations of Islam. Christianity has different interpretations of Christianity. You know, Buddhism has different interpretations of Buddhism. So in Judaism also. Um, so I strongly identify with a stream in Judaism that we call Reconstructionist Judaism. And really, what that means is we need to reconstruct Judaism that we received from our ancestors. And we believe that religion is always evolving and changing. The religion in the beginning of the Bible is not the same as the religion at the end of the Bible. And anyway, the Bible ended more than 2,000 years ago. And our religion continues to evolve and to change. Um, and we need to do that in a conscious and intentional way. We, we can think about how does our religion best serve the people and the world. And it changes with time as we learn more and as just human experience goes on. So, one thing I can say about Reconstructionism is it really embraces the evolution and the change in religion. And another thing about Reconstructionism or Reconstructionist Judaism, different from Orthodox or conservative Judaism, is we conceptualize, we think of religion as part of human culture. And we don't think that the words in the Bible were given by God, right? The story that our religion has told about itself is God spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, and God gave this all to Moses. And Moses passed it to Joshua, and Joshua passed it to the next generation, and the next generation passed it to the next generation, and we received it from them. That's the story that has been told about the religion. But Reconstructionist Judaism doesn't believe that. I don't believe that. I find that completely unbelievable. It's like a myth or a fable. It's a story, but is it real? I can't imagine it's real. My concept of God is not a person who talks in words and you hear God in your ear. Not even like God putting words in your mind. I don't think God does that. I think religion comes from people in our societies and in our cultures. We, as humans, have so many questions about life, about why are we here? What are we doing? how did we get here? What are we supposed to do? What happens after we're not here anymore? What's a good life? So many things like that. And religion helps us share that and celebrate it and just gives us a way to do all that. So I'm just saying that's a reconstructionist view of religion. And you can understand if you think that's what religion is, then you're empowered to try to make the religion as life enhancing and as beautiful and as holy as it can be, and not just repeat what past generations have given us. So that's like a little introduction to Reconstructionist Judaism. But just the topic that I was asked to speak about was Jewish-Muslim cooperation or collaboration in support of Palestine, of Palestinian solidarity, of the Palestinian people's struggle, I can say, for their very existence. I think their existence is endangered and threatened. And there's a long history of Jews supporting Palestinian struggle. I also want to say there's a long history of Muslims supporting Jews when Jews have been endangered and threatened. But I'll talk about myself, and I hope you have a chance to ask questions and guide me and get what you want. So for me, I wanted to do more, to be more involved, and to support Palestinians more, maybe 10 or 12 or 15 years ago. I was living in Vancouver. I was the rabbi of a synagogue, and I didn't know any other rabbis who had that idea or that orientation. And in my synagogue, it was a liberal or a progressive synagogue. There were other people who wanted to have some like supportive, mutual relationship, mostly with Palestinians, because that's really the problem. And that was very difficult to do. So I think we kind of opened up the circle and we thought about making relationships with Muslims. And I contacted the big Muslim association where we lived. And I got very discouraging answers, like, the president of the big Muslim association said things like, of course, you are very well intentioned, but now is not the time. As Muslims, we support our Palestinian brothers and sisters, and we appreciate you, but we really can't build relationships with you because it's not the time. I trust you understand what I'm saying. I don't mean the language, I mean the intention. And I want to honor someone, the imam of the biggest Sunni masjid in Vancouver. His name is Imam Ziad Delich, Dr. Imam Ziad Delich. He invited me to come to the masjid for Jummah prayers. I never, ever did that before. I never. And he invited me to come. So it wasn't the organization and it wasn't formal, but I walked in during Jummah prayer. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people there. And I sat in the back, sat on the floor, and he welcomed me from the front. He was like, oh, we're honored today that Rabbi David Mivasair came to pray with us. That's all it was. And I could feel like a heart connection that was beyond the political difficulties. But there's nothing I could do more than that. So I did not want to be stopped. And I did something kind of silly. That was the old days, maybe before internet. No, it wasn't before internet, but I opened the telephone book. I looked in the telephone book and I found a masjid near my house. I called the masjid. I left a message. I said, I'm a rabbi in a synagogue, and my house is near your masjid. I would like to talk with you. I would like to meet you. I just want to make a connection. And the next day, I got a call back, and it was a young woman, and she said, the imam has been waiting to hear from you. He's so glad you called. Can you come and have tea with him? And I'm like, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to honor him by his name. So his name is Fuad Darame. And he was the imam of a very small masjid, like in a house. And I was a rabbi of a small synagogue. And we met and we became like good friends and we did things together. And the first thing we did is we just had kind of a public invitation to Jews and Muslims. Should I keep going? I'm going to keep going. Should I keep going or wait?
Please, you can keep going since it will still recorded by me.
Okay, I'm just telling a story, but this is like, it's like the human story underneath the organization. So really, I'll tell you the real thing that actually happened. So we planned to have an evening where we invited Muslims and Jews to come together in the masjid. Most Jews have never been inside a masjid. And I thought it's so important. Just go in. Just go in. Sit down. See it. What is it? We never been there. Right? How many Muslims have come into our synagogue? So Imam Fuad invited us to the masjid. And we were going to go. And that day, the big Muslim organization said, no, you may not do that. They own the masjid, and he worked for them, and we couldn't do it. But then one of the members of the masjid said, come to my house. He opened his house, right? About 300 people came. And that night, we were all sitting in a big room in the house, and we simply said, let's go around the room, and each person just say in one sentence or two sentences, why did you come here tonight? And we went around the room, and there were Jewish people, Muslim people, men, women, older people, younger people. They were all like so like relieved to be together, to not have to be separate. Anyway, people talked, and that led to one thing, to another thing, to another thing. Anyway, that's part of my personal story. And ever since then, I have felt more and more connections with Muslims. Now, I've been in many masjids. I thought about it. I can pray in the Muslim way. I can say, Allahu Akbar. Of course, God is great. There's nothing wrong with a Jew saying that. 1,000 years ago, most Jews spoke Arabic. That was the spoken language of most Jewish people. If they want to say, God is great, they would say. Allahu Akbar, right? So of course I can do that. I can bow down. I can pray with brothers who are Muslim. Why not? Absolutely, why not? So I like doing that. It feels good. I feel like I'm connecting with God and with the other people I'm with. Usually it's only men. Sometimes I've been with men and women together. Anyway, that's more of my personal story about connections with Muslims. I've been invited to speak in many mosques. I always have very beautiful reception. And also in my synagogue in Vancouver, we invited Imam Fuad, and he came and he spoke, So just that's on a very personal grassroots level. So maybe I should talk a bit about the organizational level. And I'm not, also have to keep my eye on a clock. So I can analyze a little bit, and I can say on an organizational level, the kinds of organizations that I'm a member of, I'll just repeat. Big organization in the US, in the United States, is called Jewish Voice for Peace. It has over 200,000 members and supporters, and it really has political impact. It's a very important organization. And it has organizational connections to Muslim organizations. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Another organization in the US, let me say, Jewish Voice for Peace is an anti-Zionist Jewish organization. To decide we're going to say we're anti-Zionist was a process that took years of discussion among us. But it's an anti-Zionist Jewish organization. There's another organization that really, really fights to change the American Jewish relationship with Israel and to change American government policies about Israel and Palestine. And it doesn't say it's anti-Zionist. It's not anti-Zionist. It just is trying to do what I said I tried to do for years and years and years. Israel should be more just, more equal. Stop the occupation. Stop the settlement. Give everyone equal rights. So that organization is called If Not Now. And If Not Now also has organizational relationships with Muslim organizations in the US. And I'm in Canada. I'm American, but I've lived in Canada like 30 years. So in Canada, our big organization that's anti-Zionist is not so big because there's not so many Jews here, but it's called it's called Independent Jewish Voices. And we also have organizational connections between IJV and different Muslim organizations. And then, excuse me, my daughter's calling me. I don't think I ever not take a call from my daughter. So I'm here with you, so she's going to wait. So I want to say, so the organizations have connections. And then on a local level, like in my city, I have many, many connections with Muslim individuals, with some Muslim leaders like imams and sheikhs. They call me when they want to have a rabbi or a Jewish person come to something. I can call them. We're really, really connected, both on a personal level and kind of smaller local organizational level. There's a lot of that. I think it's almost everywhere. Wherever we have a large enough community that there's enough of us Jews who are doing this, we have connections with Muslims. That's how it is. It's good. It's important. It's very, very important. So, that's like a big picture. I think it would be good for me to use some slides that I created and show you some examples. And then maybe I stop talking in about 10 minutes and inshallah, take your questions and we can talk together more. I also have to say I've never done this before.
Okay.
How am I doing? How is this going?
I mean, if you have the file, Rabbi David, please just share it to me. And if you want to share it by yourself, you can click the share button, and then you can just choose the file.
Hold on while I try to figure out how to do that.
Okay. So there's a share button with the green.
I know that. Wait, just wait. Give me. Everybody, just breathe. I will. I have to work on this. Wait. I'm gonna get it. Okay. I think I can do this. Well, if I wait a minute, I have to. Oh, I'm getting it. I got it. Hold on now.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, this is like really my first time. I never did this before.
Okay.
I haven't done it yet. Let's see. Wait a second. Ta-da. How is that? Did I
Yeah,
do
you
it?
did it. You did it.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay. Woohoo. Now, how do I advance? How do I go to the next?
Yeah,
Oh,
just click it.
I hope you can see it. And I'll just keep talking. Let's see if I can move ahead. Yeah, so how do I go to the next slide? Oh, there. This is
yeah.
just something about me. So I have gone to Israel or Palestine with Jewish organizations to support Palestinians on the ground in their villages where they are so attacked and threatened. And this is from May 2019 with an organization called Center for Jewish Nonviolence. Just telling you something about me. I was arrested. I was in Israeli prison for a little while. And there was about 300 of us who came mostly from the US who did this together. I don't want to talk too much about this. It's just give you some. I want you to know that Jewish people do this, and I did this. But here's another. This was in May 2021. Israel was bombing Gaza. Israel was destroying people's homes, apartment buildings, office buildings. Israel killed something like 2,000 people. It went on, I don't remember exactly, more than a week. I felt like I have to do something. So I organized with other Jewish people to go to the consulate, the Israeli consulate in Toronto. And we put this is just red paint. We put red paint and it's washable paint. It's water paint. You can just come with water and wash it away. But this was on like every TV, every newspaper. We really made an impact in Canada so that people in Canada will know that not all the Jews support Israel. There's a kind of propaganda that's very effective that wants people to believe that Jews support Israel. So we're Jews that don't. So this is another thing I did. I'll go another thing. This was in the Capitol, in the US Capitol in Washington, D.C., and this is hundreds of Jewish people. The T-shirt says, "Not in our name." This was October 18th, 2023. So, you know, the Israelis started destroying and killing in Gaza like 10 days before that. And this is Jewish Voice for Peace. And if not now, I'm saying those organizations so you can remember them and you can learn more about them. They organized, maybe 500 of us went into the Capitol. There were 3,000 of us outside the Capitol blocking the streets. They blocked the streets for hours. We were inside for hours until the police came. We were there, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. 350 of us, mostly rabbis, were arrested and taken away by the police. I want you to see these images. I'm in this. I mean, it's not that important, but this is me. I'll just go to the next one. And then this is something. This is in Canada. There's a Muslim television network that's really good. This is a program called Let the Quran Speak. And the host is, her name is Safia Ali. And she interviewed me and we talked, and it was, you know, I think it's very important to make connections and to share with each other. Where are we coming from? What are we thinking about? What do we care about? What do we actually learn from our religions? How does it shape our lives? You know, so we're talking there. This was maybe November, maybe December, I don't remember, after what was happening in Gaza, after October 7th. Her husband is Palestinian from Gaza. By now, members of his family were killed. You know, so we talked about this. I'm just showing you connections. This is very clearly a Muslim connection. So I want to go back in history a little bit. I hope that you know, if you're interested, you know something about early Zionists 100 years ago who wanted to live together with Palestinian Muslims and Christians. They were Jews from Europe, or maybe some from America, who wanted to live in Palestine, of course, in peace and in equality and justice and freedom for everyone. So they created an organization. There was a Zionist organization, and the name is Brit Shalom. And this is 100 years ago this year. One of the outstanding people was Martin Buber, maybe like the leading Jewish philosopher of the 20th century. Another was Gershom Scholem, who was a great Jewish scholar. Henrietta Zold was a Zionist leader. She was the daughter of the rabbi in the synagogue where I grew up in Baltimore. Another person who supported it but he didn't go to live there is Albert Einstein. You probably heard about him. There and others. So I just want you to have this historical background to know that this existed. It never succeeded because the dominant stream of Zionism was very militant and wanted to like push out the Palestinians, but there were always Jews who disagreed. And the majority of Jews were not Zionists. They were happy in the country where they were living. Like my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, not Zionists. Okay, I'll go on to the next thing. Yeshayahu Leibovitz was an Israeli kind of philosopher, a professor at the Hebrew University. And after Israel conquered the West Bank in Palestine, he spoke out so clearly, so firmly. He talked about Judeo-Nazism. And I just want to give you his name. He was very prominent. He was very controversial. He lived in Jerusalem. He was a religious Jew, and he spoke about obedience to God means do not kill, do not steal. You know, he was a voice in Israel. And if you want to know more, please learn about him. And he died about 30 years ago, but he was very influential. And again, never like the dominant idea of Zionism. But I think it's important to know about him. I'm just going to move along. So this, I'm going to introduce you a little bit to some things my organization in Canada has done. I was asked to talk about kind of cooperation with Jews and Muslims and organizations. So Independent Jewish Voices Canada. I hope you can see this. We created a coalition against anti-Semitism, anti-Palestinian racism, and Islamophobia in Canada. And if you want, you know, I'll give this to your professor and he can share it with you. So there's two Jewish organizations. Jewish Faculty Network is several hundred Jewish professors in universities and colleges in Canada, and our organization, Independent Jewish Voices, and Canadian Muslim Public Affairs Council. This is not Muslim, not Jewish, but a very big, important organization in Canada, and something called the Canadian Arab Lawyers Association. It's actually the Arab Canadian Lawyers Association. But anyway, working together. I don't want to take too much time about this. If someone's particularly interested, I can answer questions. But this is an example of collaboration and cooperation. And it's on an organizational level. It's not just personal, you know, trying to do things as individuals. This is some of what they publish. This is from their Instagram page. You can find them on Instagram. I'll send you the links. There's a lot of this. Here's something else that our Independent Jewish Voices did together with the British Columbia Muslim Association. There was a young Palestinian man who was terribly wounded and injured by Israel, and he was living a horrible, horrible life. I won't take more time, but we brought him to Canada for treatment in Canadian hospitals, and together, Independent Jewish Voices and British Columbia Muslim Association together are, you know, brought him to Canada and are helping him get the medical treatment that can help. I'll just give one more example. I don't know if people in Indonesia know this, but about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a horrible attack on a mosque in Quebec City in Canada that killed people who were praying. You know, so our organization immediately came to support the Muslims. And this is from 4 years ago, 4 years after the Quebec mosque shooting. You know, so we are coming together to support each other. And I'll give one more example from Canada of us working together. That's, you know, so the University of Toronto has a law school to teach people to be lawyers. In that law school, they have a special professor for international human rights. And they searched for who was going to be the professor for international human rights. And they found a professor who was like, they thought the best in the world, Valentina Azarova. And they offered her the job. And when they did that, I'll just say Zionists objected to it. Zionists said, you can't appoint her because she's criticized Israel. And the university withdrew their offer to her. And a big campaign developed against this university withdrawing the offer to Dr. Valentina Azarova, right? I'm just telling you. So the organizations that made this campaign, Independent Jewish Voices and the National Council of Canadian Muslims, that's I think the biggest, most effective, most important political organization of Muslims in Canada, the Canadian Arab Institute. You get what I'm saying, Arab Canadian Lawyers Association. So we work together. That's my point. I'm giving you specific examples. So I'm going to move on from Canada to the US. Oops. Oh, okay. So this is American Muslims for Palestine, digital rights. And what that means is, you probably know there's a lot of censorship and a lot of suppression of in social media and digital media. If you're thinking about Facebook or Instagram, they have ways of suppressing it. So there's a campaign against that organized by American Muslims for Palestine. I'll just kind of go quickly. I want to just show you who's making this campaign. American Muslims for Palestine, Khamla, Arab Center for Advancement of Social Media, Jewish Voice for Peace in the US, American Arab Anti-Discrimination, Empower Change. Empower means Muslims organizing for change. Okay, I'll keep going. I have maybe 4 or 5 more examples. This is a campaign saying that companies that develop tech like Google or Apple or others like that, Amazon Web Services, should not support Israeli apartheid and Israeli military. And just show you who's in this campaign. So there's Muslim organizations, there's Palestinian Youth Movement is very big and important, Jewish Voice for Peace, there's Empower, Muslim Power Change again. You may know these things. I don't know what people in Indonesia know or what you don't know. This is, if not now, I talked about it earlier, another Jewish organization in the US working together. I'm going to just go on to another thing. This is another like really good campaign. This came from Jewish Voice for Peace. So one way that Israel, wait a second, let me get rid of this. How do I get rid of this? There. One way that Israel gets money is they have bonds. People give money right to the Israeli government. It's called a bond. That's been going on for generations. So Jewish Voice for Peace created a campaign called Break the Bonds to tell people, don't put your money in Israel. And in that campaign, you can see Jewish Voice for Peace and Muslims for Just Futures. Again, it's an example of Muslims and Jews cooperating together on this. I just wanted to show you something about If Not Now, because maybe you don't know it. I want you to know it. If Not Now, I said before, it's a movement of American Jews organizing to end U.S. support for Israel's apartheid, but it's not anti-Zionist. It's doing good things. It's worth knowing. And they also have connections to Muslim organizations. And I think that's the end. And I hope we have time for questions. I'll stop and take
Yeah,
your questions.
okay. Thank you so much, Rabbi David, for your very lengthy and comprehensive explanation. I mean, like all of us are getting valuable insights from you, and I hope that this would spark questions from students. And I think that many students are wanting to ask questions to you. If there's any students who would like to ask questions in Bahasa Indonesia, please just ask me through personal message and I will translate it in English. If there's any students who would like to ask the question in English as well, that's fine. That's totally fine. Please, if there's
That's
any
great.
students, please, questions perhaps from, yes, Izam is he's my teaching assistant. So perhaps you want to ask something, Izam.
Thank you, Mr. Haza, for the opportunity. Good evening, Rabbi David. I'm Izam. And here I would like to deliver a question from one of the students to you. So the question is, has Rabbi David ever been discriminated against by Muslims who do not know about Judaism reconstruction, or about there is a group of Jewish who also pursue this similar vision about an equal right of the Jewish and Palestinian in the Middle East or around the world, because there might be an discongruent or uh, such a dissipate or a different point of view toward Jewish. So there is a question from the student. Thank you.
The question is, have I ever experienced discrimination? And I think, to be honest, I don't I, I don't feel like I've actually experienced discrimination. I had I've had many, many, many good experiences. I don't hide that I'm Jewish. I think it's important to appear to be who I am. And I don't think I've ever had that kind of problem. I have to tell you, I had one experience that made me very sad. I was in, I can say I was in Israel because socially, the reality is Israel. Geographically, I can say I was in Palestine, but the social cultural reality was Israel. And there was a beautiful masjid in the city of Jaffa, and it was very nice. And there are Muslims, Palestinians who live there, and it's their masjid. And I just went there. I was like just looking in the window, and there was a young Palestinian man who came and he saw me, and he was really like hostile to me, and he told me, "Go away, go away." And I tried to explain to him, I'm not making any problems, you know, I'm here just to see it. And he's like, "Go away, go away." And I just think that was more because he's Palestinian. It may have been a personality issue or even a mental health issue for him. I also think he's probably very difficult life because he's Palestinian and he just didn't want any Jews in his masjid. And I can sympathize with that. I don't blame him. But honestly, listen to the level of discrimination. It's so small. It's like one person. Maybe he's a kind of disturbed person. I don't know, but that's the only example I can think of for my whole life, really. If
All
we
right,
had more
Rabbi.
time, if we had more time, I can tell you so many stories of how I've been welcomed by Muslims and Muslims giving me like honor and grateful for me being there. That's what I experienced.
All right. Thank you, Rabbi. And now I would like to ask for myself, since I tried to make a conclusion from your presentation today, from your from your speaking today. At least I would like to say that there is three kind of a Jewish group toward on the Palestinian issue, if I'm not mistaken. First, there are Jewish population who supports, or let's say fully against the state building of Israel. So there is a second group also who pursue the slightly different things. I mean, there is a Jewish population who wants to give an equal treatment and rights for Palestinian as well as an Israel. So what is internationally achieved as a two-state solution. And then there is also a Jewish population who wants to establish an Israeli states and then reviews the Palestinian existence uh, as a sovereign land, as a sovereign nation state, as
Hold
a
on.
Jewish.
I'm not understanding very well. That third group, just say it again a little more slowly and clearly for me.
Okay, all right. So there is three kind of groups of Jewish.
I
First, they
understand the
are
first one, second one, but what's the third one?
the third one is the Zionism population who against the establishing of the Palestinians nation state. So from the opinion of Indonesia, maybe they are more kind or more interest to find a fact that um, Jewish is Jewish all over the world is supporting the Zionism. So any groups who share a vision or let's say advocate similar things like yours and your organization, it might be less spotted, being underestimated.
You say less important.
Yeah, I mean less spotted, not so popular among us.
Less supported.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So so do your organization and your network ever try to projecting your advocacy, your movement to educate also people around the world that there is also a group of Jewish who support the equal right of Palestine. So not only in your constituencies as a Canadians itself.
Whew. Well, honestly, I think our priority is, I think, trying to affect our own Jewish community, to try to get other Jewish people to reevaluate and to question their Zionism. And then also, our priority is to try to change our own governments. You know, the US government, the Canadian government, there's groups like us in the UK and in other countries. And I don't think it's such a big priority for us to do what I'm doing right now. I'm talking with you in Indonesia. I think that's important, and I'm very grateful that you invited me. And you're real. I'm just a representative. You know, it's not about me personally, but you want to know about us and our organization. So I'm grateful for that. But I don't think we're trying very hard to, make that a priority.
All right, so Rabbi, I understand your question, and it's all about about the priority or and the vision of the organization. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
I want to add something. The big Zionist organizations have so much money that
Mm.
they can hire staff. They have staff who work for them, and they can influence other countries. And they can put so much into the media and into other politicians, right? They have, I can say, like hundreds of millions of dollars that come from Zionist billionaires. And we are really grassroots organizations. We don't have those resources, so we are smaller because I think we don't have the resources to do what they're doing. So we actually have to focus on our priorities, what's most important for us to do. Internally, we have a little tension between, are we really here most for Palestine solidarity? We're supporting the Palestinians, or are we here to like re-educate and reorient Jewish people? It's our job to try to work in the Jewish community and change what Jewish people are thinking, or supporting Palestinians. In a way, it's the same thing, but it's like little different priority. Just, I'm just telling you that.
All right, Rabbi, thank you. And it's more a kind of enlightened for me. Like I am more being enlightened. I mean, the two different vision, the internal friction that you have been told to me between the pursuing Palestinian right or educating the Jews, it is indeed a two different and significant mission should to be bear by the organization. And I would like to conclude. Thank you for your presentation and for the conversation. And there are some question in the column chat. Maybe if you would like to read by yourself, or would you mind
I
if
can
I
help.
read it for you?
No, no, I can help. I can help with Izam. Thank
Okay,
you.
and it will be helped by Mr. Hazza. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr. Hazza, for the opportunity, and Rabbi David.
yeah, okay. Okay, Rabbi David. So we have some comments and questions here. But first, I would like to welcome Nazila. Nazila, if you want to ask questions to Rabbi David, please. Would you want to ask the question directly to Rabbi David? Nazila, if you're available, please ask the question directly, or otherwise I can just read it. I mean, like, so Nazila is one of my students. She's been working on researching about GVP and its interaction with Islamic organization like CAIR. So she asked, how do GVP and CAIR collaborate and to support the Palestinian struggle and to advocacy and public arena? So would you tell us your experiences on how it can influence the policy making processes? Maybe you can share some insights on that.
Well, to be honest, I'm not involved directly with that.
Mm-hmm.
So Nazila, it's a good question, and I hope you will research it more. And honestly, if you want to talk with someone in JVP who does that, you know, maybe I can help you contact the right person. And you can do the same thing with CAIR, right? It's just like it's not something I really know about, so I don't want to just talk about it.
Okay, okay. Perhaps you can share us with some contacts, Rabbi, if it's possible. I mean, like because
Please, but when this is over, write to me and ask me, and we'll do that. It's a great question.
inshallah, we'll be asking for the questions to them because actually we've been trying to engage with many pro-Palestinian Jewish organizations in States and in Canada and also in Australia. We have contacted one in Australia where we want to have more conversation with them. So there's I think there was a Loud Jew Collective and also Jewish Council of Australia. We've been trying to keep contact with them, but they're not answering because they're busy with other jobs. So yeah, so thank God you're coming here to share
Oh
your
God.
yeah,
Oh,
because everyone is so busy these days, Rabbi.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah. How much more time do we have for this?
I think we still have around 20
Good.
minutes.
Okay.
25
So
minutes.
you're talking about busy.
Uh-huh.
So I am most busy directly supporting families in Gaza. I
Oh,
I have almost given up trying to make any political change. You know, when you say busy, I am using hours and hours a day to get donations and fundraising. and sending directly to people in Gaza so they can buy food or they can buy blankets or a tent or pay for medical care. And I feel like that is number one priority. If anything I do politically, like Nazila asked about, oh, how do you influence policy? It's like, well, we can't. We can't. The billionaires control policy. So we're trying, but I don't feel that my time and my efforts politically have had outcomes, no effect, right? But if I can get, like, I'll just say $200 or $300 donation, and I send it to Wala, who's has 3 children and her husband's disappeared, she can buy food for her children. So I'm very, very busy with that. And many Jews and Muslims are doing that together. There's no organization, but we are a very close network of people who care and are trying to do that.
Can you share us the platform where you've been working on this? Because some of our students might be interested to donate something to your
Oh,
cause.
that would be wonderful. That would
Yeah.
be absolutely wonderful. I'll say it, and then later you can, maybe I can type it into a chat.
Yes, please do. Because Rifa, one of my students as well, Rifa is also here. She often asks me how we can directly deliver our donation to Gaza, because most of Indonesians are only donating their donation to organizations, and the way that these organizations are delivering assistance to Gaza is not effective because it is mostly blocked by the Israeli occupation, and that's why the assistance is delivered to this organization might be arriving in Gaza in more than 1 month, and it's way too late. And we need a quick solution here, and that's why you're here to perhaps to give us some other way to deliver urgent needs that Gaza.
Honestly, I think that's so important, right? I want all the students to learn all these things I'm talking about. But most important is helping people who are suffering right now. And we do that. So we're not sending food or water, we're sending them money. And they buy what they need. And they need money to buy it. Right? So this I put in the chat. I want to say something else. It's very important. We're not only sending money, it's not only financial support, we are giving emotional support. So we have WhatsApp groups with each family in Gaza, each family that we help. There's a group of 6 or 8 or 10 of us that relates to them. We write to them, even talk to them. We see them every day. We know the children's names. We know where they're living. We know what kind of job they had before October 7th. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so we have a personal relationship. And there's people there that say, like, oh, you're like my father. There's a woman who gave birth last week, and she wrote to me, "You're my daughter's grandfather." You
Mm.
know, that's the kind of, the reason I'm saying this is if any of the students or anyone wants to have that kind of supportive relationship with people who want it, we can just bring you into our groups. We do it on WhatsApp, and you can just use Google Translate. You can go from Indonesian to Arabic or to English, and build a relationship. And then you can do that yourselves. You can tell your friends, tell your family, tell your classmates, and you can make your own network of support. Like I said, material, financial support is so important. but also the personal, like emotional support is important too.
It is so heartwarming to see your initiative. I mean, like someone in Gaza calling you as their grandfather would be very warming attitude from Gaza as well, because they know that there'll be a lot of Jewish people who are supporting their cause, and it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perhaps I will be giving some time to Professor Utama, because Professor Utama would like to share his opinion and his view, perhaps. Please.
Okay, thank you, Bung Haza and Rabbi David. I just want to share like my experience about actually letting people know that there are also Jews for peace. There are also voices of the Jews against war, against the violence. But even though sometimes I frequently like post it in social media, like there are Jews for peace, Jews for ceasefire, and stronger together. Um, but there are still people that I personally, this is my experience, still actually say it to me that, oh, that's where what they're doing is actually their approach to Indonesian Muslims as a Zionist propaganda, and the Jews would be Jews. That's how they say it, which I know it's actually untrue. So I think the challenge in Indonesia is also to when there is a fact that the Jews are helping Palestinians is actually a fact, and it's something that people has to know, because like you said, you have a donations, and I already said it, I think, in the class of Middle Eastern studies, that there are also Jews that helping Palestinians. There are also Jews that giving aids and assistance to the Palestinians. But this is something that even they just knew that, because they always think that the Jews never want to help Palestinians. So I think there are challenges to like give the information, even just to give the informations to our fellow brothers and sisters here in Indonesia. And I think it is this experience also the experience of Mr. Haza as well. But of course, we are not Zionists, but people think that we're Zionist because we just say it's the Jews, there are Jews that help Palestinians. And they think that we're Zionist. People cannot really differentiate Zionism and Judaism in a general public.
Right.
Indonesia, yeah.
Well, we have the same problem. Yeah. I really appreciate you trying to help people understand. And yeah, it's really like on a human level. You know, there are a lot of people in Israel who try to help. There's an Israeli who's at the University of Haifa who sends money every month to a man in Gaza to help him feed his children, but he can't send it from Israel to Gaza. They're next to each other. The way he sends it to me by PayPal, and then I send it to the man in Gaza. His name is Rezek. It's like your name. And I'll just tell you another specific thing. I just before I talked about Wala, who has 3 children, and her husband disappeared. So it was clear that her husband is missing for almost a year. She's 29 years old with 3 children, doesn't know what happened to her husband. And I heard that. And I know in Israel, an organization of Jews in Israel trying to help people in Gaza. I contacted them. I said, is there anything you can do to try to find, is her husband in an Israeli prison camp. And they said, okay, we'll try. And it took them maybe 3 weeks, but they found him last week. They found him. He is alive, and he's in an Israeli prison camp. Maybe thousands of other Palestinian men. Maybe they're being tortured. Maybe they don't even have food. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, it's horrible. But those Israeli Jews in that organization found him. So now, voila, with her 3 children, she knows her husband's alive. The children know their father's alive. And I'm just telling you, it was a Jewish organization in Israel that did this. And I like people to know that not everyone in Israel is like, evil, committing genocide. There are good people there trying to do good things. It's a small number. I wish there was more, but there are some. And I think that's what you want to tell people, that there's a mix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, students, is there any questions or additional comments, perhaps? If not, we'll be closing soon enough because it's almost 9 p.m. in Ontario, and now how terrible is winter in Canada because it would be very cold there.
Look at me.
Yeah.
No, I'm here. I'll turn around my laptop.
Okay.
When did you last have snow in Jakarta?
No, we haven't had any kind of snow. We just have rain, Rabbi. Yesterday it was a whole raining day. It's cold enough for us. We don't want to have that kind of snow here because if there's snow here, there will be apocalypse.
Yeah, so actually last week I went to the Toronto airport to pick up a woman who came from Gaza. She got out of Gaza before Israel, closed it last April to Cairo. And she lived in Cairo until last week. And then Toronto airport, never saw snow in her life. Never saw snow. But thank God, they're here, they're safe, have a new life here. And yeah, we're all like God's creatures, we're all people just trying, and we have to help each other and we have to support each other, and we just a good world for everyone. And every one of us can do that for other people. And I just encourage all the students to learn as much as you can about how you can help in this world. And if I can help to learn something or make connections, please, I'll try to help.
Okay. Rabbi, perhaps one more question. One more question from my student. I don't know who's asking this, but Izam delivered this question personally from one of my students. So this student is asking question about how has GVP utilized social media platforms? I mean, like you also have your own platforms, and how you can work together to mobilize younger demographics. I mean, do you also engage with youth, with Gen Z, such as students,
Yes.
this class, to advocate for Palestinians, and how you as older generation of Jewish rabbi connect with younger populations like from Jewish and Muslim organizations to work together to advocate for this cause, Rabbi David?
Well, look at our social media. I just look at it. We have Instagram, we have a website, we have X, we do other things. And I'm an old guy. Most people in Jewish Voice for Peace are my age or younger, right? It's not an organization of old people. It's okay to be old. I'm happy I'm old. It's wonderful. But most people VP are much younger. And more, maybe I can help you learn more doing
Okay.
with our social media, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Perhaps I mean after this I might send you some emails about how we can contact GVP because the students are doing research on this, and I'm
Follow.
encouraging students to work more on Jewish Muslim relations. I mean, like to have this kind of discussion, to have more research done in this aspect, because in Indonesia, as Professor Utama has said to us, it's very hard for us Muslims here to connect with Jewish communities because we would be considered as Jewish a Zionist collaborator. But as a matter of fact, it's not the case. I mean, like if we can differentiate those Zionists with real with Jewish who are caring for Palestinians, well, we might have better collaboration in the future. Yeah, and
Sure,
I
sure.
sincerely ask students to join Rabbi David in helping Gazan people. If you have money and you have some fund to spare, you can join the Connecting Gaza initiative, and um, I think that's one of the way we can directly help Gaza people. Yeah, Rabbi, if you have any closing statement, because we are nearing the end now.
No, I don't think I have anything to add. I really appreciate you just bringing people together. It's so important. And yeah,
Yeah, thank
yeah.
you so much
So
for this occasion. Such a nice discussion, a very warm discussion. We really hope to see you here in Indonesia. You have time and you have what is it?
inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah.
I was invited once to an interreligious international conference in Qatar.
In Qatar,
And
yeah.
and I went. I learned so much just from being there and seeing it and meeting people and interacting. It was wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so I'm available.
Okay. Okay. So to end this, thank you so much, Rabbi. I wish we could hug you. I mean, like, so thank you so much. Let's
Yeah.
give a big applause to our Rabbi.
Also, wait. I also want to say, if any of you come to Toronto or
Uh-huh.
Niagara Falls,
Oh,
I'd be very happy to meet you, and that would be
okay.
wonderful. I mean it. If you go to Toronto or Niagara Falls, that's where I live. That's where I am.
Okay. Okay. We'll do. Inshallah, if I have opportunity to visit Canada, I'm surely wanting to meet you, Rabbi. Perhaps some of our students would be attending student exchange nearby Toronto or in Niagara surroundings. I will ask to meet you on my behalf.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Rabbi, we don't want to take too much time because you will to rest. So thank you so much once again, and
All right.
see you on another occasion.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Salam